So we need to embrace our kids' digital world. We need to examine our digital diet. But now let's finally talk about really practical, explore the tools. In other words, there are a lot of tools that can help you help your kids. And in fact, I've asked a friend of mine, Jason Powell, he's the IT director here at Granger Community Church, and he's a genius when it comes to breaking down these kind of tools that can help us help our kids. So can you welcome Jay? He's going to come on up, and we're going to have a little conversation.
Thanks, Rob.
Jay's not only a genius with technology and the IT director here at Granger Community Church, he's also a great husband and father, and he's been one of my best friends for more than two decades.
Right. We should have had a sweet picture from college with our mullets up there.
Yes, we had mullets at the same time, matching
mullet
mullets.
power!
And so, Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about your family?
Absolutely. My wife and I recently celebrated our 20th anniversary. We've got 3 kids. Oldest son is a sophomore, another son who's a 7th grader, and then we've got a 1st grade daughter.
Excellent.
And as our kids have moved beyond 5th grade, we've had those awkward conversations about pornography, inappropriate searching, and, as parents, we're trying to figure out good tools and techniques to kind of limit their access to the harmful stuff out there.
Testosterone.
Yes.
So let's start there. I know for a lot of us, it's really overwhelming. There's so much information. We know there's tools out there, but how to find them. So let's start with what's the low-hanging fruit? What are some very accessible tools that can make a big difference in terms of controlling our digital diet for our kids?
I would say probably the lowest hanging fruit that parents aren't taking advantage of would be the parental controls inside of all of these devices. Your iPhone, your iPod, your computer itself, Xbox has parental controls, Netflix has parental controls, your Comcast DVR, all these devices have parental controls built into them to help limit the content your kid has access to. And I think parents either don't know they exist or they think they're there, but maybe they're just really hard to figure out how to use.
Okay. Well, why don't you walk us through just an example of parental controls?
You bet. I'm going to focus in on what's probably the most popular teen device, which is going to be the iPod or iPhone, essentially the same thing. But what we're going to be talking about, though, with this device is very analogous to what you would find on any other smartphone or any device, actually. So this is my phone here. Yes, there are a few unread messages. It's just the way it is.
16.
Don't judge me. I want to draw your attention to the fact that if you're familiar with iOS devices, the default web browser down here is Safari. However, you can install third-party web browsers like Chrome, Opera, Firefox, etc., and that's going to be important in a moment. So right now we're going to drill into the Safari web app. Web browsers on these devices are awesome because they're such amazing educational tools. Right now it seems like there's stink bugs everywhere, right? Everywhere you look, stink bug. So, we're sitting the other night, kids like, what do stink bugs eat? Bust out the phone, what do stink bugs eat? Well, they like fruit. Who knew? The flip side of that, however, is that, it's very easy for your child to be sitting in their bedroom or somewhere and simply type in the word naked, which doesn't sound like a super, it's not a porn word necessarily, but you type in the word naked, hit search, and you get the worst pornographic images there. You get links to pornographic videos. Just that, or search for the word twerking, which is, Miley made that so popular now. You search for the word twerking, you instantly have these, porn images, just right there. It's so easy to get to. So what we want to show here real quick is how 2 simple changes in kind of the parental controls on this iOS device will really limit what your child is going to be exposed to, either accidentally or intentionally. So I want to focus down on this little icon down here, the little book icon. And if you click that, what's going to happen is it's going to show you a history of all the web pages that have been browsed on this device. Parents, if you're not taking your child's device and looking through this history periodically, you really should be. It's going to give you an eye-opener as to what they're doing on their device. You'll notice down here there's this button called Clear. Your kid could come down here and hit Clear and clear all the history on their device. So if they went someplace and they were feeling, hope my mom and dad don't see it, they could hit Clear, erase all that history. Of course, as a parent, if I see my kid's phone with cleared history, hey, it's time for some chatting. The other thing I'll draw your attention to down here is we've got this button called Private. And if they hit Private, this enables the private browsing mode, which means that once you enable private browsing mode, no longer will the phone keep track of the web pages that you're viewing. So I could go home, I could hit private browsing, I could surf the most terrible stuff in the world for an hour, come back, turn off private browsing, and you would never see that in the history on this device. So 2 simple changes we're going to make to really kind of limit some of these problems here. So we're going to go out to, on the phone, or your iPod, we're going to go out to Settings. And under Settings, we're going to go to, come back here, lost my brain a second, General. And then under General, we're going to go down to Restrictions. So on the iOS device, Restrictions is what you're looking for. And we're going to have this information available on gccwired.com. So if you're not taking notes quick enough or whatever, we'll have that available for you. So I'm going to enable restrictions, which means I need to put in a passcode that I as the parent know and the kid's not going to know. Now it allows me to do a number of different things to limit the content that they have access to. I can actually disable Safari completely. If my child has a history of being just overly tempted by the bad stuff on the internet, I could just completely remove the web browser. And then later on as they mature, maybe put it back on. You can do all sorts of stuff with it, remove the ability to install apps. We're going to focus down, again, on just 2 things. We're going to come down to first on websites. We're going to click on websites, and we're going to click on Limit Adult Content. When you hit Limit Adult Content, 3 things happen immediately. The first is it applies a content filter onto Safari. So now if I open Safari and I type in naked, it's going to pop up a page that says, we're sorry, you're not allowed to search on the word naked. If I physically type in playboy.com and try to go to that web page, it's going to pop up a page that says playboy.com is blocked for adult content. So the other thing that it does, let's go back to Safari. If I go into Safari and again go to my little bookmark icon here, notice down here that clear is now disabled. I can't click on it. So my child cannot erase the history on this phone. And also private is now completely gone, so they just can't go into a private browsing mode. So we did one change, and we've made a huge step in limiting what they have access to. But the other thing that's very important is that, remember we had Chrome installed out here? Right now if I opened up Chrome or any other web browser on my phone and I type naked, all that stuff's there. So I need to eliminate all these other web browsers that are on the device. Again, we're going to go back into the restriction settings. Settings, general restrictions. This is awesome, Rob. If you type in the wrong password, it tattles on you. Failed passcode attempt. So as a parent, if you come and grab their device, you can see that they've been trying to get into the parental controls. And it's time for another awkward chat. Why are you trying to hack my, parental controls? So again, we went down and we restricted websites. The other thing we need to do is go into apps. And we need to change apps from allowing all apps down to only 12 plus apps. The second you do that, all the web browsers will be removed or disabled from the device because according to the Apple Store, notice that Chrome is now missing. The Apple Store says that any application that could lead to adult content, which would be web browsers and some other just nasty apps, are 17 plus. So by limiting it to 12 plus, I've went and removed those. So right now, those 2 changes, my phone is very limited in the bad stuff that they could get to.
Okay, it's super helpful. And yet at the same time, I know there's some people right now, they're having that same moment where their eyes are rolling back in their head. and so I know you've been doing some work to make this more accessible. Can you tell us all about that?
Yep. So what we've done is on the GCC Wired website, gccwired.com, on the main page, you will find the parental series, Picket Fences. Click on that. Once you click on that, there'll be a link for resources. Click on that, and we've got several items in there. Let's see if I can show you real quick. Current series. There are going to be several items in there with links to how to do this on your iPhone, your Android device.
So you're going to have a bunch of tutorials, basically.
So there's a
right?
bunch of links on there. There's also a place on the table to come and join a discussion about how to do Netflix, how to maybe do your Comcast TV.
Explain what the table is.
The table is kind of the social media platform just for our church congregation. And so it's a place to interact with other folks that within the confines
So
of the
you can
church.
send him questions
Yes.
at that forum. So you can say, well, I don't know how to do this. And then Jay would actually respond. Is that amazing? And it give you coaching and help in terms of how to provide these kind of tools in your environment. So that's awesome. Well, hey, let's thank Jay, okay?
Right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
everybody.